Okay, today we're going to review over solving equations and inequalities that you did in Foundations. So first of all, as we take a look at translating equations and inequalities, it says the quotient. Okay, the word quotient in algebra means divide, and twice means multiply by 2. Okay, so the quotient of twice a number. Now we don't know what that number is, so I'm just going to let it be an x. So the quotient of twice a number and 7. Now is means equals 20. So this would be my equation for that one. 5 less than. Now, if it has the verb is less than, then you would have an inequality symbol. But if it's just less than, that means minus. Product means multiply. Okay? So 5 less than the product of a number and 3. Now, if it is less than, it's coming off of 3 times that number. So you have 5 less than 3 times that number, and it is equal to 14. Now, you probably need to look back over your vocabulary with those, with the words, because sometimes you can forget those. So think about quotient, divide, product, multiply. Twice is times by 2, is equal, okay? 7 times, so you know that's going to be multiply. Difference means subtract. So 7 times. So you're going to multiply 7 times the difference of a number, we don't know what that is, and 4 is no more than. If it's not more than, then it is less than or equal. Okay, if it's not more than 10, it could be less than 10 or equal to 10. So this one would be an inequality. The product, again, that means multiply, of a number and 4, normally you put the coefficient in front, increased by 1. Now, if I want you to make at least a C in here, then that's greater than or equal. So we need at least 7. Okay, topic 6 is solving equations. Now, when you have an equal mark, you're going to have an equation, and you try to get the number on one side and the letter on the other. So I'm going to subtract 3. 18 minus 3 is going to be 15. To get rid of multiply, you divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 3. 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. Now remember, with an equation, that answer should give an equal mark. So if I look right here, that answer should be balanced. So I'm going to type in, let me slide it over this way. Okay, I'm going to type in 3 minus 3 times negative 5. And notice that I get 18. So when I put this number in for A right there, that's 3 minus 3 times negative 5, and that gives me the 18. Okay, I'm going to subtract the 4. This sign is directly to the left of that, So what I do to one side, I do to the other. I drop down that negative, so I have negative 1/2 n is equal to, when you have two negatives, you're going to add and keep the sign. Now from this part, you can put a 1 up under here and cross multiply. So negative 1n times 1 is negative 1n. 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. Divide by negative 1, and n is positive 32. Now, always check these answers with an equation. So when you type it into the calculator, to check it, it would be 4 minus, you would do 1/2 times 32. And to check that, whatever answer you get out should match this number right here. So it should match negative 12. So let's try that. 4 minus 1/2 times 32. So we get negative 12 right there. Okay, so since I got negative 12 and that matches, that tells me that answer works. Okay, number 35. I'm going to subtract 17. I get 3/4 x equals 6. Put a 1 up under and cross multiply. 3x times 1 is 3x. 4 times 6 is 24. Divide by 3, and x is equal to 8. So again, to check that, you would do 3/4 times 8 and add 17, and it gives us the 23. If it doesn't give you that number that it's supposed to equal, you made a mistake. Before you can do anything to this problem, you have to distribute that negative 4. So that would be 9y minus 4y minus 4 equals 31. Now look to the left and see if you see anything that is alike that'll go together. These two things are called like terms. So you can do 9y minus 4y, and that gives you 5y. Then you can add 4 to both sides. 31 plus 4 is 35. Divide by 5, and y is equal to 7. Now to check that one, you're going to have to put that number in more than once. So you're going to have to do 9 times 7 minus 4 parentheses 7 plus 1. And that gives us 31. Okay, in this one, we're going to have negative 6 times w, which is negative 6w. Negative 6 times negative 4 is positive 24 plus 8w. 2 times w is 2w. 2 times 9 is 18. So we're going to look left. Negative 6w plus 8w goes together and gives you 2w. Now when you subtract the 2w, the w's go away on both sides. So you have to ask yourself, when you have no letter to solve for, are these numbers ever going to equal each other? So 24 can never equal 18. So there's not going to be a solution to this problem. You would never be able to balance that. Now, when there is no number there, there's understood to be a 1. Negative 1 times 7m is negative 7m. Negative 1 times 12 is negative 12. 2 times m is 2m. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. We can put together 3m minus 7m. That gives me negative 4m. Now I'm going to get the m's together, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 2. Now a negative plus a negative is going to stay a negative, but a negative times a negative is a positive. Now when you bring the letter to the left, the number has to go to the right. They have to be on opposite sides from each other. So I'm going to add the 12. Negative 6 plus 12 is 6. Divide by negative 6. And m is equal to negative 1. Now what you might want to do is go back and maybe try some of these again if you got confused with the equations, okay, before you start with the inequalities, just to make sure that you're okay before we go to this next page, okay? Okay, in this next equation, you're going to multiply the negative 2 to the 4x and the negative 2 to the negative 3. So I'm going to bring down 2x. Negative 2 times 4x is negative 8x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. When I look at this, I can put those two together. 2x minus 8x is negative 6x. Now, when I notice this time I bring over the 6x, the x's are going to cancel again, except this time 6 does equal 6. So this would be a true statement. So this answer would be all real numbers. So you would have infinitely many answers, because notice you have the same problem on both sides. Negative 6x plus 6, and that is negative 6x plus 6. So you have the identical problem. So if both variables cancel, you have two different cases. If the two numbers are equal to each other and it is a true statement, your answer is all real numbers, like this one. If those two numbers do not equal each other and it's false, then your answer is no solution. Now that's if both variables cancel and you do not have a letter to solve for. There's not a letter left in that problem. Okay? Now, whenever you have two things that are set equal, this is called a proportion. Now, in a proportion, to get rid of the fractions, you cross multiply. So you would multiply diagonally. So 7 times x is 7x. Then you do 3 times x minus 8. So what you're going to have to do here is distribute. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. We subtract 3x. 7 minus 3 is 4. Divide by 4. and x is equal to -6. Okay? Hopefully you're starting to remember some of the equations that you did in Foundations as you're going through and trying these, and maybe you're even working ahead of me, which is good. Now, sometimes you have a bunch of letters and you have to isolate one of the letters, and it looks worse than it really is. You just have to ask yourself what's going on with all those letters. So when you look at this right here, you're trying to get the H by itself. Okay, so we need to get rid of dividing by 2. So what we could do is just put a 1 up under here like this, and that can go on the top, and we can cross multiply. So that would be BH is equal to 2 capital A. Now to get rid of B times H, you just divide by, you're trying to solve for H. So you're just going to divide by that little b. Okay, don't divide by what you're trying to solve for. So H is equal to 2 large A over B. And for this one, I would use cross multiplication also to get rid of the fraction. 1 times that is A squared plus 3B. 4 times C is 4C. Then I've got rid of the fraction. I'm trying to solve for B. So that's kind of stuck together with multiplication, but I've got to bring this over to the other side. So to get rid of this, I have to do the additive inverse. So I'm going to have to subtract it, where it will cancel out and go to 0. And then I have 3b equals 4c minus a squared. Now to get rid of 3 times b, I'm going to divide by 3. And b would equal 4c minus a squared over 3. Okay, let's jump ahead to, I think 51 and 52 deal with equations. And justifying steps. Okay, so looking at 51, we need to kind of see what they're doing to solve that question, and you have to give reasons of what's going on. Now, with the first part, that just means given. They're giving you that problem. Then you have to see how they went from this to here. Well, notice the 16 is missing. So to get rid of addition, they had to subtract. So that's called the subtraction property of equality. And equality means the same thing as equations. So that canceled and gave us this step. Now what did we do to get rid of the 3 on the bottom? Well, to get rid of dividing by 3, you multiply by 3. So this would be called multiplication property of equality. Okay, our last one for today, as we focus on just equations. The others with inequalities have the inequalities, the gator symbol. So we'll do that another time. If you look, they got rid of the parentheses by multiplying. So that would be called the distributive property. Then with this one, let's see what they did. They put together the 5 minus the 10. So they simplified that side because they put together like terms. Then they moved the -5 by adding. So that is the addition property of equality. And then you divide by -6. So that would be the division property of equality. Okay, if you'll make sure that you complete the other assignments posted, make sure that you hold on to these lecture notes, because once we finish the last portion of the packet with inequalities, you'll be submitting and turning that in. Have a great day.